Revelation chapter 13. We are basically in verse 14. Let me summarize what we understood on Thursday meeting. And then we will move to verse 14. So we understood that the second beast of this chapter, that second beast is the United States of America, but in a very interesting situation, I would say. That country is going to be a Christian country, but eventually it will become to the point when it starts talking like a dragon, and it will make sure that, to fulfill its existence, the purpose of its existence, which is to bring the whole world to the first beast, to the papacy, to the Roman Catholic Church. And this beast does very interesting things also. He performs great signs, and he can make fire come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men, and he deceives those who dwell on the earth. And we came to a conclusion that this precise beast exercising prophetic power. So it's about prophecies. It's about commenting on the Bible. It's about bringing his own understanding of the Bible to people who would listen to him. And he doesn't do it like the first beast would do. The first beast was very cruel, very openly blaspheming God, but this one is very it's difficult to identify that it is a bad situation about him. And the idea is, by the deception, by the miracles, by the false prophecies, false prophesying, to make sure that the people can make an image of the first beast. You see, it says, by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, so it actually performs everything before the first beast.
Sister, what verse are we on? What verse?
It's 14. We're already in verse 14 right now. So by
14 chapter?
1:4.
What chapter?
13,
14.
Oh, 14, thank you.
Yes. And by those signs, by these very unexpected actions, like Christianity is all about prophesying, about commenting the Bible. Let's, read the Bible. Let's comment on it. Let's understand it. That's the gift of prophecy. That beast, by this situation, tells those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived. So basically, the United States of America is a Protestant country, which is very Protestant country, very Christian-like country, but it is teaching the way that people would make an image of the papacy. It's not going to be the papacy, but it's going to be an image of the papacy. So in order to identify that image, we need to know what the papacy is. Okay? Let's go on with the reading to have the whole information in our minds before we start looking for the understanding of the words here. So, Brother Chris, would you please read the verse 15, 1-5?
Okay. He was granted power to give breath the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed.
Very good. Very good. So what information do you have from this verse about the image of the beast? Don't comment what it is, but give me your understanding, what information you have about the image of the beast. Straight from verse 15.
Was granted to give breath to the image of the beast, an image to breathe, power to. Basically, the image was granted power to give breath to the image.
Who is he here?
He would be the beast or the papacy.
The second, no, it's the second beast. That's the United States.
The United States. The United States was granted power to give breath to the image, and the image of the beast to speak and to cause many to worship image, and to worship the image of the, and to kill the and to be killed, and those that didn't worship the image were to be killed.
And who's acting here? The first beast or the image?
The first beast is acting, because the first beast is making the first beast is making the image. So if people don't worship the image,
who will be killing in this case?
The first beast.
No. Read carefully. Let me read it to you. Okay. He, so that's the first beast, the second beast, the United States. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. So who is killing?
But the image isn't the image. The image isn't a. Is the image a thing? That's why I thought still the.
Well, we do not comment yet. You see, unless you understand the details of the text, you should not be allowed to comment on the text.
Okay.
Otherwise, you will make mistakes.
Sister Sasha, can I say something?
Sure, try it.
Okay. The way I see this is that it's the first beast who needs the power of the second beast. The first beast needs the power of the second beast, which is the United States, to give life to the image of the first beast. It's the second beast that has the power to give the life to the image of the first beast. And so once the second beast, which is the United States, gives that power, okay, then the image of the first beast will be able to speak and command that all who will not worship the beast, all who will not bow down and worship, should be killed. So the foundation, that very power that causes the image to speak, comes from the second beast, because evidently the first beast does not have power to make its own image speak.
I agree with that. But the actions themselves come out from the image of the beast.
Yes, that's the decision. The decision comes out from the image, but the power to carry it out, the
Is the
power
United
to carry
States,
it
yes.
out comes from the second beast.
Yes, and we need to be careful with those details. Let's put it again together. Again. So everything here is about the second beast, which we identified as the United States. And it tells us that the United States will be doing something in order to create, verse 14, in order, it's not the United States will create, you see? Be careful, it says, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image. So the United States will tell everyone to make an image of the papacy. So the United States will be behind this image. But the image is more important than the beast. The image requires worship. Look, the image speaks and causes as many who do not worship to the image of the beast be killed. So the image itself requires worship from people. The second beast does not require it. The second beast is a builder. Let me say it like, he's building that image. But the main emphasis is the image itself. Do we agree here on the idea? Do we see that?
Well, the image, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The image. Okay, an image of any beast or an image of any country is its religion, its politics, and its culture. And that's the image of a beast. And there's something that symbolizes that image.
Very interesting. Right now, we are not even talking what the image is, but we need to see how things will be getting developed, should be being developed. The United States will make sure that all the people on the earth will create. First, it will be created. The image itself will be created. It will be made. That's the first step. And then the United States will have some power, which would be granted to this country, to do what? To give breath to the image of the beast. So the image will become active. So when it was created, it wasn't active. It was just created. You see, it reminds about Adam. When God created Adam, Adam was not acting. Adam was lying down on the ground, and basically he was dead. He was just an image of God himself. Am I correct? But God needed to breathe the breath of life in the nostrils of Adam. So Adam would become a living soul. So Adam could start thinking and doing things and talking and so on. That's exactly the same situation here. So first, the image itself is created, but it's just created, it's made, no problem, but it's not active. But then it will be
But
the
this
stage.
is the satanic image.
Exactly, yes. But Satan, he does what God does, but you know, in the opposite direction. Satan cannot
Yes.
cannot
Yes.
make anything on his own. You know, he tries to be like God. So he creates an image of the beast, and the beast was his creation also. So, and that image is inactive, doesn't do anything. But then in verse 15, we see how another stage happened. The United States gave breath to that image of the beast. So the image is alive now. And what does it do? The image of the beast, the image of papacy, will both speak and cause. So it will be two actions. First of all, it will be speaking something, and it will cause, by the speaking, that many who would not worship this image would be killed. You see the logic here. The United States is like, behind the scenes here. But what it created, that's the main idea. Now, let's ask a question before we move on with the image itself. That's very interesting. We, at the beginning of the chapter, we saw that the papacy itself wanted the worship for itself. So papacy always was about worship me. I'm God, worship me. And everybody who do not know the truth basically started worshiping the papacy. And we understood it. But here the papacy is kind of, moved away. The main one is the image. And the image says, worship me. If you do not worship me, you will be killed. The image, we don't know what the image is yet, but the image says, if you do not worship me, you're going to be killed. Question, why would Satan allow the humans worship the image, though he wanted everybody to worship the, the papacy, the first beast, and through him to the dragon, to Satan himself? Why would Satan allow such a strange situation when he says, okay, through the image, he says, worship the image, though the papacy is the main one? If you don't understand what I'm asking, please let me know, okay?
Just
Well,
say,
I do want.
Brother Chris first.
Just say it in a different way. I think I understand what you're saying, but just say it again.
So you want me to say it again? Okay, let's see what Brother David says first.
Well, the reason why Satan would have it this way is because he knows he's the root. He is at the very root of it all. And as long as it takes the worship away from God, he's happy with that. Because the image and everything like that is the deception. That's what he's hiding behind. He's at the bottom of all of it.
Very interesting. Now, for Brother Chris, let's see. So the root of everything is Satan.
Yes.
So, okay. And he creates papacy. Okay. And he says, worship papacy. So in this case, you worship me. It's pretty much the same as God the Father says, worship Jesus. And in this case, you worship me, the Father. Or if you worship the Father, basically you worship Jesus. So doesn't really
Right.
matter. Okay. So,
Mm-hmm.
and what happened? The Lord allowed papacy to exist only for 1260 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Satan needs something else. Papacy is not in play right now. It doesn't have that power which it used to have. So Satan needs something else for humans to worship him. In this case, he makes sure that the second beast comes, the USA, okay, differently, 1 second. The USA. But Satan isn't interested in the USA itself. It's interested in what the USA can create, can make. And it makes the image.
False God.
Okay? Yeah, and the image is reflecting papacy. It's the image
They
of the
think
papacy, okay?
they think the papacy is their God, and it's not.
That's very interesting. 1 second, let me put it beautifully on the screen so it will be easier to see. So the United States is not interesting. Satan is not interested in the states. It's just, some kind of power which will be used to create something which reflects papacy. Okay, that's what Satan
So it's
means.
by proxy.
Like proxy. That's very good word. So, and that image says, worship me. Okay, no problem. Why? Because Satan knows this spiritual law. If you worship to an image, you basically worshiping to the reality of that image, which is behind it. That's why Satan for the heathen nations would say, make icons, make different statues, make different images, and worship to God through those images. Because Satan knows that if you make an image for worshiping, you are a heathen, okay? You are making an image for worshiping. You are basically worshiping to what is the reality for that image. Okay, let's imagine I make an image of a saint. I draw a picture. It's Saint Paul, for example. And I worship through that Saint Paul, and I say, I worship to God. No, you are not. You are worshiping to what is behind that picture. It's a human being. It's a human being. You're worshiping to a human being. You are not worshiping God. Okay, let's make a picture of Jesus Christ. Nobody knows how he looks like. No problem, but it's like a human person. And you say, okay, through that image, I'm worshiping to Jesus, the real Jesus. No, you're not. You're worshiping to what is in basis for that image. Some human flesh, whatever it is, your idea about Jesus, how you put it in a picture, but you're not worshiping Jesus because he is God invisible, basically, if he's God, and he is God. And Satan knows that if I make an image and I try to worship through that to the true God, I still will be worshiping to the image, but the reality which is behind that image to a human, who I imagine how he should look like, and there is no God behind it. God is not an image.
Well, the fact that it was made, that it was even made, is an abomination. It's an abomination because a deity and God cannot be made. You know, it would, to be made with human hands, that's in and of itself an abomination, and Satan loves that, so he's behind it.
Yes, of course. So behind all of it is Satan, exactly. Because his idea is not to allow humans to go straight to God. He puts some restrictions on it. And the images are restrictions. So any image always will bring you to Satan. Any image. Even if you are absolutely sure that you worship the true God through this image. Many of, like, you know, Christianity right now, the Orthodox Christianity and the Roman Catholic Christianity, they say, we do not worship the image itself. We worship God who is symbolized by that image. No. The Bible is very clear. Anything which you try to symbolize will bring you to Satan. You worship Satan in this case. That's why, especially here, it's so well shown, you know. Make an image and we say, well, you wanted to everybody to worship papacy. Why? Because it doesn't really matter. It does not matter if it's a papacy itself or some kind of image of papacy. Doesn't matter. You still worship Satan. That's the law, the spiritual law which he uses. And if we do not know that spiritual law, we will be entangled with Satan. All right. One more thing. It's very interesting how the USA doesn't really do anything. I mean, Satan is not interested in it. That's just a tool, a tool. But that tool is powerful enough to do both things. To make sure that people on the earth create the image, and to make sure that that image eventually starts breathing, talking, and causing everybody who does not worship him be killed. So that's the actions of the United States. But the United States itself does not require worship to the state, you know. It will require worship to the image. Okay. So now we do need to establish what the image is. Don't you think? And for that, we will go through, I have about 8 texts with the word image itself. So we will try to understand those texts, what they mean. And then when we have all that information, we will come back to the image of the beast and try to make sure that we understand what it is. Okay, so please concentrate with me on the texts to understand what the word image means in them before we come back here. So let's go to Matthew 22. Matthew 22. I hope everyone has a Bible. So I will keep.
Yes, I have.
Very good. So I will keep the screen like this right now. Matthew 22, And let's read verse 20.
20.
Mhm.
Okay. And he said to them, whose image is and inscription is this?
Let's read the next verse also.
Okay. Then they said to him, Caesar's. And he said to them, render therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's.
Mhm. All right. So you see the word image here. That's a coin.
Mhm.
Jesus is looking at the coin and says, whose image is it? And they say Caesar's. And he says, so give to Caesar what the image is, that's his. Now, what do you see about the image here? There is a very interesting idea.
It's just something that was on a coin. Anything, it was just
Well, it looks like a man.
Looks like a man, okay. And it is on a coin. And God says, give it to Caesar. So what is the connection here?
what's man, what belongs to man is man's. God belongs to God.
Okay, whose image is on the coin, that person should receive the coin.
He was the what? He was the Pope. I don't remember, but he was in charge of men.
Yes, the Caesar, like the king of
Yeah,
Romans. Okay,
right.
so Jesus says, now, do you see the coin? They say, yes. And he says, whose image is it? The Caesar's. And God says, so it belongs to Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
So whose image is on the coin? That thing belongs to Caesar. Whose inscription is on the coin? That thing belongs to who made the inscription on the coin. Now let's think again. So what is the image? What's the idea behind the image?
He was himself, wasn't it? A picture of himself.
Yeah, okay. If okay,
Oh, rulership, owner.
ownership. Yeah, I was looking for that word.
Oh,
Ownership. So Caesar can come and say, okay, there is my image on the coins, bring them to me, because this is my image, okay? They belong to me, those coins. People say, we worked for them, we did things for them, we paid with them. And he says, I don't care, my image is on them, bring them to me. And he's right. If it were my image on the coins, I would say, okay, bring them to me. They belong to me. My signature is on them. I own them. Okay. Let's remember that. And let's move forward to Romans 1:23. Romans 1 verse 23. Okay, and it will be for brother David.
Okay. Changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds, and four-footed beasts, and creeping things.
And the next one, please.
Okay. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness to the lusts of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. Oh my God.
Okay, so there is the word image here. So what's the image about? What's the idea behind that word here?
Well, the idea behind it is he changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image. They actually made mockery out of God. They made a corruptible. They did an abomination to even think that they could do something like that, to change the glory of God into anything.
Like an
was
animal,
an
you know.
abomination.
God is an animal.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that was an abomination, and they separated themselves from God these things, through doing these things, and when they separated from God, they became susceptible to uncleanness and the lust of their own hearts, and they went lower and lower and lower. They got worse and worse and worse because they did that themselves. They changed the glory of God. They fashioned it into a false image, into falsehood. And so that separated them from God.
Yeah, and because they insisted on this idea about God, God gave them to be in that idea. You see? And because God allowed them to be in this idea, they became worse and worse. They started even, already destroying their flesh, their bodies. And this is very important. The way how you proceed with who God is always will bring you either closer to God or down to your own flesh. If I allow myself imagining God as, as a human being, and people say, oh, he became a human being, he's Jesus Christ right now. Yeah, but just open, for example, the book of Revelation and read about that human being. He does not look like completely human being. He looks like God. So you cannot make even his own image in your head. Otherwise, you will step down into a very big problem. And if I do it, and if I insist on it, that I will make sure that I imagine Jesus, how he is, and imagine details, what he does, in material details. God will eventually allow me to do that because I insist. And that will bring me to perversion with my own flesh. It's very dangerous to try to imagine
So it's an abomination, because it's abomination.
Yes, yeah, but even you see abomination, and when I already make images, visible images of him, okay, but it brings me to an abomination when I start thinking, trying imagining him. It can bring me to an abomination. God is God. You cannot imagine him. You can understand him through his actions, through his word. You need to listen to his word. You need to watch his actions to understand who he is. But you never ever try to materialize him in your head. And even more, somewhere in a painting or something. That's very dangerous. That idea of image. All right. let's move
But
forward.
you know,
Yep.
it's funny because I've tried for the past, few years, but every time you turn on something, there's a picture of Jesus or a supposed picture of Jesus, and you turn on, I copy things like Bible stuff, and they have a picture of what they think Jesus should look like. And when you sit and think and you pray, in your mind, you have um, I guess you'd say just thought of what you're not talking to nothing. You have an imagination, and there's something that your brain is talking to. How do you get that sort of turn your imagination off? So when you pray and you think, there's something there, but do you understand what I mean?
Yes, yes.
Because
It's very difficult to
you're
escape what
praying
you
to,
already saw. Mhm.
right. You're not praying because when you pray, you are praying to something, but you don't know what the something is. But so your brain says, okay, let's put something in your head. So you close your eyes and you're praying to just darkness.
Oh, yeah, you need to pray to the light.
No,
Well,
but you understand what I mean,
yes,
though.
yes, I understand. I understand. Yeah, it's very difficult to get rid of all the images from your head, especially if the imagination works really well. But the only possibility is to read the word and to concentrate on the word, on the actions of
Mhm.
God. To when you pray, you talk about His actions. You proclaim His actions. You study His actions, and eventually all the images will go away. Notice, by the way, if we go to the book of, for example, Psalms, okay, this book
Mhm.
shows God very vividly, but only through the actions.
Mhm.
So it's the book about God Himself, but it teaches us that if you want to imagine God, you can do it only through what He does and what His character is. What is His character? There is no other way. Any material image in your head always will limit God, always. And that's why we have problems. And by the way, you see, God Himself knows our problem. Don't be afraid that you're lost in, fight it on your own. No, no, no. God knows your problem. And He says, okay, here is my truth. Be inside of my truth. Study my truth. Try to talk to me as you can, no problem. And I will correct your understanding about me. He's ready to correct our understanding who He is and how He is. But in this case, we need to remember, okay, we don't want any images and we do not want wrong understanding who you are. So please, Lord, work on that. Many people who got rid of the images, like they went out of the Roman Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church, they still continue to imagine God incorrectly. And that's where the problem is. They try to overcome their sins, for example, and they cannot. Why? Because the understanding who God is incorrect in their heads. And only the Bible and your desire to understand God correctly will allow God to change that spiritual picture in your head, who He is and what He wants and how He is. For example, the Bible always says God is love. I mean, twice, at least twice, John the Revelator says God is love. And we can even remember that God is love, but it does not match what we already so-called know about him. And God is fighting our minds, and he says, let me give you my revelation about my character. I'm truly love. I'm absolutely truly love. But if you stuck with your own understanding who he is and why he acts this way and that way, God cannot do anything for you in this case. Because he is not to push and pull and force. So eventually, if we go on with our desire to know him as he is, not how we imagine him, how other people imagine him, he will explain himself to us, and we will be set free from wrongdoings and from everything which is wrong. We will. He's working on our understanding who he is. And in this case, please remember, any kind of image should be thrown away from your head, because it will limit God. And in this case, it will limit your understanding how huge and powerful he is. Yes, it's very interesting how God sometimes allowed his prophets to describe what they saw. I love sometimes going to go to Ezekiel, first chapter, when Ezekiel says, I saw the glory of God. And he tries to describe the glory of God. And the picture is, I would say, awful. I mean, there are no words to describe the glory of God. But at the same time, going through that picture, you eventually come to a very wonderful conclusion. God is so huge, so powerful, so, well, difficult to get words here, that you are comparing to him not even a piece of dust. You're just little something dust, you know. And in this case, you start thinking, okay, he is in control of everything. Why would I worry about anything? He's so huge, and he is in such control on this earth that I don't have any reason to worry if I belong to him. Yes, I'm a little piece of dust, but I am his little piece of dust. And everything is under his control. Satan wants us to think that he controls here things. No, no. He's a very good actor, but only God controls. And God allows Satan to do something. And if we see that those things are allowed, we say, okay, glory to you, our Lord God Almighty, for you know what you do.
Sister, can I make a point? What you said. I think that Satan wants us to think that we're in control. He wants us to think that we're in control. That's more so that we're in control, because he works through deception.
Yeah, that's the different deception. One of the deceptions is about, I know people who would say Satan is so powerful, I cannot overcome, that's why I'm always committing sins. So that's a lie. Or Satan says, oh, you are in control. Yeah, that's different lie. But when you read, Ezekiel, at least chapter 1, or you go to Isaiah chapter 6, and you read it very carefully, and you understand that who God is, you say, oh, no problem. No problem what's happening in the world right now. No problem what's happening amongst the nations right now. God is in control. And I am his little piece of dust. I belong to him. And if he wants me to die, glory to the Lord, let me die, be in my grave, no problem. He wants me to go left, I go left. He wants me to go right, I go right. No problem. Because God is in control. And he's my God. That's absolutely different picture of God. And this is the true Christian picture. Why would Apostle Paul, Apostle John, other apostles go through so many tribulations? How could they actually handle it? That's impossible. That's over any human ability to handle what they encountered, because they didn't care about the situations at all. They knew who was in control. Apostle Paul is in jail, for example. Tomorrow he's gonna be executed, and he's singing songs. You see, people say he's crazy. No, he's not crazy. He knows who is in control. And God knows when Apostle Paul needs to die, and he will die easily, no problem. He needs to be in jail for several years. He will be in jail for several years, and everyone in jail will know about Jesus, how good he is. Because God is in control. You see, but if we have any kind of wrong picture, image about God, we always will stumble. And I just got started on who God is, So the Lord promises us, if you push away any desire to have an image of God in your heads, the Lord will provide the correct understanding who God is, and you will be set free. And as we see here in let me see it here. Okay. In the words here, Satan, papacy, the USA, and the image, Satan knows that he needs to move forward some kind of image, some kind of organization, some kind of visible something, and through that he can catch people for himself. But what God does, God says, no, what God does, what he does, we will study next time through other verses, which I have here for all of us. God is wonderful. And he can change everything in our minds. He can. He's all powerful. Let's stop it here and let's pray.